Well, I don't think it could get much worse, John. And just as it had seemed like Liz Truss was over the hump, at least for the next fortnight, as Tory MPs and ministers were privately saying she was safe until the medium-term fiscal statement on Halloween, that now all seems to be up in the air. And that isn't the end of it. There are ministers said to be on resignation watch tonight. The government has had to U-turn on making a key vote on fracking, a confidence vote after some Tory MPs warned that they were willing to lose the party whip in order to defy the government over that. And also, of course, the ability for Suella Braverman to make a resignation statement to the House could potentially be explosive tomorrow.
Right. I mean, just get us up to date with a bit of news there in what you just said. A U-turn on the vote, which is taking place in any minute now. The government whips were telling their MPs, look, this is as good as a confidence vote. You've got to vote with the government, or you're imperiling our very existence. We had publicly one of their number on the Tory benches, Chris Skidmore, saying he was going to vote against the motion, whatever punishment was sent his way. Now you're hearing the whips are back down. Is that right?
That's correct. So, as you say, John, this morning, Craig Whitaker, the Deputy Chief Whip, made it clear in no uncertain terms in an email to Tory MPs that this is a confidence motion in the government. However, in the past few minutes, the Energy Minister, Graham Stewart, has told the House quite clearly this is not a confidence vote. The government obviously was gambling with that threat, that sort of Damocles hanging over the head of any Tory MP, mulling over defying them on this motion. But after Chris Skidmore, also Angela Richardson, Tracy Crouch and Mark Menzies threatened to defy the whip, I think the government realised they couldn't afford to kick those four MPs out of the party and possibly others.
I mean, it's really the case, John, of sauve qui peut, look after yourself. And we also had William Ragg earlier on almost making the joke, saying that he was going to vote against fracking, but now it's a confidence vote. He was going to not vote against it so that he could stay active in the Conservative Party in the 1922 committee, basically to plot against the Prime Minister. So everyone is going in all sorts of different directions. I mean, even the Braverman resignation, for example, or sacking, whatever you want to call it, doesn't look like being frankly about the breaching of ministerial confidences to a Conservative MP, not least because we know from her record that Suella Braverman is far from fastidious about rule breaking or going against the law. Why she would suddenly have a fit of the vapours and feel she had to resign doesn't add up. It looks much more likely that effectively she is positioning herself to be the leader of the right, the European Research Group or whoever, if the ball goes loose at the back of the scrum, to use that Borisism, to be the next Liz Truss, because it's always possible if Liz Truss goes and the Conservatives were not to be able to agree on someone to replace him amongst the MPs, then we could be back in it going to the membership to choose who the next Prime Minister is. And it could be that Suella Braverman, who we know wants to be Prime Minister, who stood in the race which Liz Truss ran, would see herself as very much the candidate of the right in that. Yeah. And she could spoil, if you like, what appears to be going on, which is Jeremy Hunt, with the tacit support of people like Grant Shapps, quietly restructuring the government behind the scenes, almost doing a reshuffle before they get rid of the Prime Minister. And that could possibly be the last move if she went, and the hope would be then probably Rishi Sunak, possibly Penny Mordaunt would be slotted